Hey everybody, how are we doing? I think we're good today. Who's all in the chat and what questions do we have? Sorry for the late start today. I think we're streaming. I think we are. Just once again, I went through everything yesterday, doing a lot better today. Not on painkillers today. Pain's at like a 2 or 3. 2 or 3. Sometimes it gets a little worse, but sometimes we're fine. But if you're here and you have questions, let me know. Brian had surgery on Monday if you didn't know. Someone's like, what? 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 I'm just going to keep saying what until there's a question in the chat. Mubot, do you see any questions right now? Let me re-wake up Mubot. Help on Project 1, I'm lost. Sure, let's look at some Project 1. You got it. Thank you for swinging by. We'll boot up Mubot right here, Mackenzie, and let's take a look. Let's talk over some Project 1. That's coming up here, too. It's like the last few... everything since Saturday has been like a blur for me. Like, staying on track with everything. I've been kind of, like, just trying to swim and keep up with everything. Let's look at some Project 1 right here. Project 1 is due today. Oh my gosh. Project 1 due today. Okay, let's take a look. Project 1. Here we go. Do I have Project 1 on here? Oh, no. Ubot doesn't know about Project 1. He can't tell us about that. Let's go here and look at some Project 1 and talk about it right here. Let's go check it out. So we're just going to copy paste this link in right here. And here we go with Project 1. And we've got all the files right here. And we've got here the instruction file. And we've got here the report file. Okay, so there's the prompt. Let's download the prompt right here. Oh my gosh. 2 seconds. Really? Let me redo this. Let me download these files. Downloading the files. Save link as. Adobe Acrobat button. Downloading the file, Adobe Acrobat. I'm opening up both files right here. That's my open up the file song. Okay, here we go. File open up 1. File open up 2. And let's go take a look. Close it off right here. Okay. Let's go take a look at Project 1. So this right here is a whole report already written out for you. What is your goal with Project 1? What is your goal with Project 1? So I can't do the project, but what is your goal with Project 1 right here? What is your goal with Project 1? With Project 1, what is your goal? Maybe we'll do like 1 or 2 sentences. What is your goal with Project 1? We have 2 goals. So we can go over here and look at the whole thing, the summary. Kind of goes into everything. Got videos on how to help out right here. But what is our goal with Project 1? What is our goal? And this is what you'll be turning in. So we probably want to take this right here. We're going to copy this. Go over New Word document. Drop this in right here. And so go right by your name. Brian Stevens. I'm going to change the text color real quick. There we go. Your instructor's name for Brian Joseph Stevens. Exactly. And an executive summary and a future research. So you need an executive summary and a future research. You will only be turning in this. You will not be turning in the full reports. And in terms of length of how things should look, I think most of the time, at least from what I'm seeing, I'm a little stuck on the... Oh yeah, we'll talk about that too, Kennedy. You got it. Thank you, Kennedy and Mackenzie, for being here asking questions like it. Okay. So this is like A+ right here. You might have a little less, but if it's about 1 page, you're pretty good right here. So what you want to do, and Kenny's pointing some stuff out right here. You want to have like an intro. So the intro is going to take up about this portion. We'll talk about what these are. And I don't want to, of course, share everything because I don't want to solve it all. I want to kind of talk about it. This is going to be like your intro right here. So put a note right up here. You need to introduce what's going on. You need to introduce, does that make sense, Kennedy, Mackenzie? You need to have like a portion of this be like, it could be like a sentence or 2, but it needs to introduce what's going on. So you're going to have an intro talking to someone about like, this report is constructed for so-and-so based on such and such data to analyze such and such. Like you should introduce any reader to someone to the report, like who it's for, why it's being constructed. This is just like the, like imagine Brian says, Hi, I'm Brian Stevens. I'm a teacher of Stat Tool 1 at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I've been teaching here for 10 years. That just like orients someone to immediately kind of who I am. So you want to do that with your report. And the only way to do this, is to do what? The only way we're going to know how to orient someone to the report is to read through the report and read like what it's going on. Like, maybe kind of mention who the report's for, kind of saying like, the key things right here. So you want to orient someone like what this report is for, what we're trying to do, and you just want to give like a big overview of like, hey, this report is for such and such about such and such, and that's kind of just letting someone know what this report is for. Does that make sense? Like what the start of an executive summary should do? It should immediately orient the reader like, this is a report for such and such about such and such regarding such and such. How are we doing on that portion, which is like you're immediately orient the reader to what we're doing? Okay. So now that we know the intro is going to immediately orient the reader to what's going on, we get into probably one of the most important parts, and it's going to be this portion. I'm showing what things are going to kind of look like right here in terms of space. This is like what you're going to be filling out, and maybe I'll write one of these. Like I'm kind of giving examples of what would be here. But this is where we what with results. Who knows what we're going to do right here? So for the main portion of the executive summary, we're going to summarize and I should put key results. You don't just want to copy paste sentences. You want to summarize results, like key results that you found in the report, because these are the things someone should know from the report. Like, I'll do like one. Probably everyone's going to take this one, but let me see. Let me go look at the report. I'll do one key report right here. Key finding is exactly. Great job, Mackenzie, right there. 100 points. Sorry, trying to not be in pain. Hey. Okay, so let's look right here. Let's go down to this. Got a histogram right here. This is looking at the systolic. So the median. Looking at the IQR. Okay. Wow. Systolic. So you can write your own sentences here, but don't exactly write what I write. So, because I'm too afraid everyone's gonna write what I write, and then I'll be like, oh, everyone plagiarize. I'll be like, oh, that's what I said during the video. What's something interesting to you? Because this is systolic blood pressure. Like I might say something like an analysis of systolic blood pressure let us understand that there are some major concerns for our patients where we have a few extreme patients who have blood pressures over 200 for systolic. This might be a major concern, like that right there. Like there's a lot more going on right here, but something I'm pulling from this right away is this area right here. If you know anything about, you might have to know a little bit about blood pressures. Systolic is when your veins push through. Diastolic is when your heart's not pumping. So when your heart pumps, that's your systolic pressure. When your heart is not pumping, that's the diastolic pressure. Always remember it. When your heart's not pumping, you're dying. So that's why I remember it, like diastolic is the heart not pumping pressure. So these individuals right here, if you ever heard the thing 120 over 80, 120 is apparently a good systolic and 80 is a good diastolic. And so we have people with a 200. Does anyone here do nursing or anything like this? This is of great concern. So you might say, like this is just a summary right here. Once again, this is a lot right here, and I'm trying to condense this down. You could say a key concern for me regarding the systolic pressure, or a key concern for us, is that there are individuals who have way over 200 for their systolic pressure. You're not trying to take the sentences from here and just drop them up top. You're trying to take key things from here and then put this into your executive summary. So you'll look through here and be like, okay, what key things do I see that I will then pull and put into the executive summary? I would use maybe 4 or 5 of them. Like it should look like a full page. I would try to do like 4 or 5 key findings. You should look at this and think like, what key finding can I take away from this? Like anytime there's a graph or something, I would try to pull a key finding from it. Does that make sense? Like you'd look at this analysis right here and think, well, this is diastolic related to systolic. What does that tell me? And then read through this right here and maybe say like, an important finding regarding this and this was that we found this. You don't want to just take the full thing right here. And when you do an executive summary, you want to condense this down into what was the important thing we learned from this. So you want to read through this right here. So I don't want to obviously do all of it, but you want to condense it down. Does that make sense, Mackenzie, of the goal is that you're taking and condensing the findings that you have for each part? And so then Kennedy asks about the action item. I'm too afraid to give an action item, but because I don't want to give one and then everyone uses it. I've done that before, and then I look at reports and everyone says exactly what I say. So let's say we had a report, and we find out that shout outs to the Student Success Center and Alyssa, one of our amazing SI leaders. But so what action item? So like this is one of our key findings right here. So let's say we were writing a report and we were to say so this is just one key finding, but let's say we went right to the action item. What is an action item you could come up with? This is, once again, the start right here, which is orienting the reader. So I think I did that in like a pink or something. And then we have here the results. And now we would have more results. So there'd be more results. This is not, I'm just pretending we have more results. So there's the more results right there. So that's, like more results. So I only have one thing in here to really make an action item from. So come up with an action item right here. I can give you one, but I want you to think about what you're going to tell. So what action item are you going to say? Like, you could give 2 action items because you're going to have more results. Just you want to then like have a takeaway. Like, what are we going to do? And I only have one real result in here right now, but this is like mimicking how yours will look. Like, you'll orient the reader at the top right there. Then you'll start summarizing results from the report, like summarize, like condense down, like make a condensed version of the report so that we can find out the key findings from the report. And now I need an action item. So who here can write an action item? Just take a moment, think through like, well, if we know 80% of students or students who use the Success Center were 80% more likely to make A's than students who don't use the Student Success Center, well, then what action item would you tell me to do right here? You might be, like what would you say? I'll write one here in a second. It's open-ended, but you're gonna like give direction and say we should do this. Like, it should be very direct. So what do people say? Let me throw out 100 points. I'm putting a little chill music. Yeah. You just however you want to say. I'm gonna use what you said right there. I like that. I'm throwing another 100 points. Yeah, we're just gonna say what we want to say. We advised the Student Success Center to hold more kickoff / orientation events to encourage students to use their services. We will work with them to set up more start of semester events. There you go. That's an action item. Does that make sense what an action item is? Like, this is something based on that report, what we're suggesting we do. So we know that students are more successful who are using the Student Success Center. So we want to encourage students to use the Student Success Center. I can't speak today. And so we are going to work with the Student Success Center to set up more events to kind of let students know of its existence and kind of encourage utilization. So that's like the action item. So remember, this is all your findings which come from the report. This is a thing we are going to do based on the report. What is your report is up here. What is this report for? Who is it for? What's going on? What am I about to read? What did you find from the report? And then down here, last but not least, what are we going to do from the report? So this is all things contained within the report, but summarized from the report. This is like, okay, well, so you told me all this. So what are we going to do now? Is that making more sense of the key components, which we are also visualizing right here? Oh, did we do the same colors? Oh, we reversed the pink and the purple. So almost got the same colors going on right there. Almost same color scheme. We'll go same color scheme. There's that. I just changed it to the same color. I'm good like that. And so hopefully it makes sense to see this broken down into parts. It should look something like this. Don't go light on the key findings. Whenever I have to explain everything or just what to do, I mean, the better the detail, the better. Whenever you're telling the company, like, here's what we should do, the more, like, exact you are on what we should do, the better. Just tell me if you think the grader's unfair, but, you know, like this right here, if this was a report, I think this would be good. We advise the Student Success Center to hold more kickoff orientation events to encourage students to use their services with our goal of increasing student success. Like, it never hurts to go a little extra. Just try not to skimp on your sentences. But, you know, like with our goal of increasing student success, we are going to try to orient students more to the Student Success Center because we know that them, you know, and to do this, we will work with them to set up more start of semester events. So we're going to try to increase students' knowledge of the Student Success Center existence. Just I wouldn't go light on the words. Yeah, so this is here's the findings. This is all based on the report you're reading. This right here is all based on the report you're reading. And then this is, now that you told me everything you know, what should we do? This is the what should we do, which is not going to really be contained in the report. This is where you decide. You tell the company we should do this because of this. Like, what are their goals? What do they want to do? Nice. I bet you, great job, Kennedy, right there, 100 points. Okay, so now for the last portion of this. And so it should look about this size. And it's about good right here. It's about good. If you're looking like that, you're probably good, but make sure you have enough like this portion right here. Don't skimp on that. Don't skimp on the summary. So for the last portion, so this portion down here is action item. And that's the what are we doing? What are we doing? For this, or we could do pink and blue again. Okay. This right here is the shortest part, and a lot of people make mistakes on this. This is a recap. So what do I mean by a recap? This is a recap of what we just learned all up here. It's a recap of everything. It's a recap of that, but it's super small. So let's go pretend we're doing our previous report over here. And so this is my executive summary, kind of looking like it should look. And going to be colored still? Really? Executive summary. Okay. And then we need right here future research. And then let's go over here. The Student Success Center has learned our major portion of our findings showed that students utilizing the Student Success Center increased their success. Shocking.
Wow.
So that is the super quick recap. So this is, once again, I'm showing you what yours should look like visually. And so you should have like a super quick recap of everything. We know that we're talking about the Student Success Center here. And so now the next thing we need to do is go into future ideas. So let's mark that right here. Let's talk about future ideas. So this is not from the report. This is where people, this is not from the report. Future ideas are things we could do in the future. It's not from the report. Don't talk about what was in the report. That's already been covered in the executive summary. Future ideas are things that we can do in the future. So we're going to look towards the future right here and what we could do. So we could say something like, since we are holding kickoff events, we could possibly track students from their freshman year to their senior year and see how utilization impacts their overall career at UTK. We plan on tracking each student each year and assigning them a utilization score. This score will then be assessed with their GPA, and an analysis in the future will let us see if our plan of engagement is actually helping students be successful. Okay. There we go. This is an example of what stuff could look like. But this is like a future plan. A little bit based on what I did in my report. It's connected to the report because I said right here, but this is how everything would be broken down. But is this making sense to everybody? 2 seconds. How are we doing right here with how things should look and how things should be broken down and what portions we have here with the intro, the summarizing of results, your action item at the end where you're telling them what to do. You're going to then give a quick recap right here of what you did in your report, a very quick recap, and then your future ideas of what we should be doing. I have my font a little bit big here. You should have something of similar nature to this. I would suggest here for the following. This is not saying you will ace it if you do this, but I would do 1 to 2 sentences here. I would probably do 1 to 2 sentences here, 4 to 5 sentences here. You are fine if you are in this range because you'll notice the lower bound is going to be 6, the upper bound is going to be 9. I would do 1 sentence here, and then I'd do 3 to 4 sentences here. I might be in these range. Remember, I didn't do all the future findings, or I didn't do all my summary of results. But these are the kind of ranges you want to be in. I would only quick recap. A lot of people go into a huge recap. You don't want this is only a very, very quick recap. You don't want this to be a major portion. It's just a very quick recap right here. And then down here is where the bulk of future research is. This very quick recap is just hey, you just read this report on this. It's not meant to go through all the results. If you start going through results here, that's a bad idea. You're not going to be going through results. You're going to somehow connect this portion down to here. Remember, what would actually go on is between all this, which you don't see right now, is going to be the report. So between everything right here is the report someone would read. So between all of this is the report. Your second project's going to go is you're actually going to write the report, and you'll actually need to do this. What other questions are there? I hope this puts it all into perspective right here on what you need to be doing. But this is what you need to make and how it should look about. And this is what you'll turn in over here. You'll only turn in this one page. Do not turn in other things. You'll turn in other things. So, but what questions are there? Let me know. We can do something else right now, but hopefully this makes sense. And this is what you'll be turning in. How do you know what the biggest thing is? This portion. This is all going to come from all the research right here. So you need to read through this report and take some key findings as you're doing it. And that should do it. Do tonight. So we got this. I think we're doing pretty good. Oh, awesome. Whoop, wrong button. Great stuff. Oh. Except for like 10, 11 hours last night. Finally slept a good bit. I figured I almost silvered up class. You're welcome, TW. Oh, TW, wait. Was this Tracy? Mohammed, thank you so much. Mohammed, I'm praying for you right there. You got my thoughts. I'm more of a thoughts person. Sorry. But you got my thoughts, man. You got my thoughts. Mohammed, hoping you're doing all right there. You got this exam. Yeah, Tracy from it's not too much info, is it? Actually, you might not have heard this, but I just had surgery on Monday. Doing better, though. Doing better. And Tracy, if you want to share what you're doing right now, I'm so glad to hear that, Tracy. That's gave you so much of understanding. I'm doing better. Well, man, I had to cancel class on Monday, and Brian doesn't cancel class. But Tracy, so good to see you here. Tracy, Yeah, no, I know. But Tracy, I'm so glad to see you. Let's throw out points. We got so many new things, Tracy, since you've been here. We got puppet sharks. We got Mewbots. Where you at, Mewbot? Where you at?
I am Ubot. I am the class mascot. I give out points.
Got so many things going on right here. We even got today, which is Wacky Wednesdays. That's awesome, Tracy. I believe, Tracy, you got the big bag of M&Ms, which was one of our last classes when you got the cluster sample of M&Ms. We're open questions right now. So you got the cluster sample of M&Ms. I remember that. That was one of our last classes before the world got flipped, turned upside down. But I do remember the cluster sample of M&Ms. And you were getting all the stickers. I was doing the stickers. Man, I missed that. Seems like forever ago, but seems like yesterday. But Tracy, so good. And glad to hear classes. I hope they're going great with classes. I'm doing well. It was unexpected surgery on Monday. Had to cancel classes. Was on painkillers yesterday, but doing better today. It's like all the info already, right? But yeah, doing a bit better. Unexpected surgery is not fun. But doing better. Doing better. That's what we want. But no, Tracy, you did excellent. Not to say what anyone did, but proud of you and so glad this class could help out. Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate that. I was like, TW. I was like, I haven't seen TW in a long time. I was like, that's Tracy. So no, but I remember I went and I found that bag of M&Ms. I was like, what's the biggest bag of M&Ms I can find? And I found maybe it was either 2 or 5 pounds. I don't want to say it was 5 pounds, but it was like a bag like this of M&Ms, like crazy big bag of M&Ms. Yeah, and you timestamped everything. We've been timestamping stuff lately. I'm a little behind on my timestamps, but the timestamps are working great, and I've been putting them in. I'm actually behind on yesterday and last week because of the incident. It wasn't an incident, but there's nothing I did. My body just said, hey, you want to have a problem? And I said, sure, why not? So it was just unexpected. My sister called me before office hours, and she was like, I didn't know you were actually having a big problem. Oh, is the difference doing with the M&Ms? Oh, really? Dang it. I guess maybe it was. I'm having trouble defining a new date from the first question of this week's 320 activity. Let's take a look at that, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt. Drop those questions in the chat. We're going to take a look at some 320. Put on a little chill music right here. Put on our 80s fun music. Don't want this one? We'll do this one. Do I have the music playing? Sometimes I don't have the music playing. People be like, there's no music. Of course I have the music playing. We're going to take a look at this week's 320 activity. Sometimes life throws you for a loop. Activity. Looks like we have 2 activities, so we shouldn't. Let's take a look this week. Enjoy. Thank you, Tracy, so much. Good to see you here. 100 points for Tracy showing up. Matt, let's take a look at 320, this week's activity. Here we go. Taking a look at 320 activity for this week. Let's check it out. Okay. So we got here multiple regression part 1. Use the data command to launch the launch data. This contains 652 product launches in the market in 2013. We want to predict the total product sales of the first 2 months after release, column profit. Since this is real company data, the 420 potential predictor variables are anonymized. And also referred to as X1, X2, X3. Cool. While interpreting coefficients is still key, this activity will focus more on the mechanics of using R. So if you want to load the data frame right here, data launch. Now, yours might not show up. Why might somebody's not show up right here? What do you have to run before this, which probably is running the first chunk? I've already got it running because I'm always got R going in the background. What do you need to do to have the launch data set load in? If yours is not loading in, take a look right here. You need to make sure you have reg class running. So you need to go right here and run library reg class. I've always got it running in the background. You can tell that this comes from the library reg class because great job right there, Matt. Some points to you. And let's make Matt a mod. We're just going on a limb. I believe you're in the class, Matt. So we'll go right here and go launch, and you need to have reg class running, so reg class is up and running. Let us make the problem somewhat simpler by restricting ourselves to the first 10 predictor variables. Run the following command that defines a new data frame called PL to be the first 11 columns of profit plus the predictors. You'll use the data frame for the remainders. Okay. So where are we? We're in the launch data set. Woo! That's a lot. That's a lot right here. It's a lot of stuff on the screen. We reached the max print. Launch data frame is really huge. So how can we bring up the space in here? How can we bring up the rows and columns space? How can we bring up the rows and columns space? So how do I get inside the rows and columns space? And even an answer like I don't know is fine, but I'm trying to drop some hints. How can we get inside the rows and columns space? Trying to drop some hints, but even if you say I don't know, that's fine. How can we get inside the rows and columns space? So that's the data frame right there. It exists. We can store it into something. But how can we get inside the rows and columns space? To start manipulating the rows and columns. Trying to drop a hint right here. Great answer, Matt. 100 points. Don't worry about that. Right here, these are the square brackets for positions. Not sure is a great answer. Just communicates. I'm not sure at this moment. So the square brackets is going to let us take elements out of here or positions out of here. So the first element for data frame is the row space. The second element is the column space. So if you leave something blank, that will take everything. So that takes all the rows. Now you want to take columns what through what. Write that as a vector. Try writing. Once again, if you don't know, that's fine. How would I then say take columns 1 through 11? How would I write a code that says take columns 1 through 11? So we're saying take from this the positions, all the rows. So we left the row space blank. You can just, so that's the row space. That says all the rows because we didn't define anything. It just takes them all if you don't put anything there. So then how would I then say take columns 1 through 11? Exactly, Matt. You're crushing, man. Great job. 1 through 11. And then let's look at what we created and look. That's what we want. So this right here is what we want. It's got columns 1 through 11. It's got profit in X1 through X10. And so that has defined, and you don't need the extra spaces, but it can help you see better that this is the rows and this is the columns. You could also do something like this if you want, or you could say columns and do this. And then you could say these are the columns you're selecting. Maybe that might help make better sense because you want columns 1 through 11. This is the row space, all the rows. Here's the columns. Columns is just a vector 1 through 11. This columns you're selecting, columns 1 through 11, which is just a vector. Make the scatterplot matrix. This is using the pairs function. It's going to get a little bit interesting. You got to make your plot smaller here to take a look at this. This is going to use the pairs function. The pairs function right here, I think we're looking at, what's the name of the Y? Profit. So we need profit tilde dot and then data equals PL. It's gonna take a second. There we go. Wow. And there's a better way of looking at this. Let me see something. What? It's because that was happening. Give me a second. I want to make a really cool thing. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's GG ally. Oh, here it is. GG pairs. And the function for GG pairs is data. What's just the data? So this is the same sort of graphic, but with a different function right here. You have to have GG ally right here. It's taking a moment to load. And so this is the same sort of thing, just a different visualization of it. And you can see the correlations. If you like this, this is just another way of viewing it. We can see right here, profit with all the X variables. And you can see here, profit with X2 has a very strong statistically significant correlation. Frankly, I just like viewing it this way. You can also do other cool things with this. So I'm just kind of showing an extended universe thing right here. SGGI. And then This is just extra right here because Brian's always extra. And then we go right here and we go to... We're going full awesome on this. Oh, could not find function. Oh, there we go. So this is the maximum amount of effort we can put in to make a visualization for this. But what are we looking at right here? So Matt, what are we looking at? Ooh, to get mad? Is it doing it? Looks like it's loading. Loaded in. What are we looking at right here, Matt? What is the point of all this? What is the point of all this? Why are we making this visualization? This crazy, huge, big visualization. What's the point of this? We've got profit up here, and I see X2 and profit. So this is actually, I want to look over. Well, I wish it would flip it. This is X2 and profit right here. Looks to have some sort of linear relationship. X4 and profit has some sort of linear relationship. These are not as strong. We can see the correlation values. What's the whole point of this? These are the univariate analysis of like X2, X1, and profit. So you can see all these things right here. What's the point of all this? Why are we doing this? So we've got here a whole bunch of X's. We've got here one Y variable. We can go look at it in the simple sense again that you have. Here's the very simple, easier to look at sense of it. Big plot going to appear again. So what's the whole point of this? We want to examine the relationship right here with profit in each one of these X variables. So you can see right here, profit in X2, that's how it's mine. These aren't residual plots. Good answer right there, Matt. These aren't residual plots. These are the relationship that profit has with X2. This is the relationship profit has with X3. This is the relationship between the Y variable and each one of the X's. Does that make sense right here? So you're saying like, oh, there looks to be a linear relationship between X2 and profit. There looks to be a linear relationship between X3 and profit. X4 and profit has a little bit of non-linearity. If I am to draw on this right here, this is what I was trained to do. I would go ahead and draw on this and start. Here, we'll go over to a Word document. So the way I was trained when I did statistics is you go right here to the document and you ask, where does a linear relationship apply? Maybe there. That's not that strong linear. Some of these are just weak. But then what am I trying to show you maybe with these? So the Y variable of interest is profit. And then maybe some of those X's have non-linear relationships. Do you see the bend here? Like, if I zoom in on this one, do you see how there's a little bit of a bend to this model? Does that make sense, Matt? Right here, what we're examining is that if we fit the form to this model, there's a bit of a bend, as there are bends on these. We want there to be a linear relationship. This one also might have a little bit of a bend, but I see some sort of a bend here between X2, being the X variable on the X-axis, and then the Y variable of interest profit on the Y-axis. So these are all plots right here. To kind of make sense of what we're seeing right here, we just made all these plots via all the combinations. So you could do this individually. And you remember this plot right here, X2 and profit? So let's just go here to plot X2, comma, I'll do it the right way. And take a look. Remember that plot we just saw? Here's that exact same plot. This plot you're viewing right here on the screen in this corner is the exact same plot you're viewing right here. Do you see this red line? This red line would go through it like this. This has some nonlinear relationship to it. So name a variable that has a strong relationship. So X2 does seem to have a strong relationship, and we could search for other ones if we want, because once again, I think the strongest relationship, which of these X variables do you think has one of the strongest relationships right here? What is another X variable with a strong relationship? Which one maybe has the strongest linear relationship? X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, X6, X7, X8, X9, X10. There's all of them right there. There's the relationship it has with Y. So which of these has the strongest linear relationship maybe? And I'll show you we can cheat to find some answers here in a second. Which of these maybe has the strongest linear relationship? Which one do you think? Oh, I've got top chat still on. I'm dumb. X3, Matt, you're right. I'd say X3. X3 looks to have a very strong linear relationship. So let's just look at X3. And once again, we can always do extra work to like see what's going on. And X3 looks to have a very strong linear relationship. One thing I like about this GG pairs function right here, which you can use, you don't have to. I've got the code right here on the screen on how to get it. You have to install this library. But if you take a look, we can actually find the correlation on this. Look at it. It's literally creating a graphic right here. It's so awesome. Those functions are really neat. But we can find the correlation between profit and X3. It'll load in. It'll do its thing. It's a very large graphic. So when it loads in, the correlation right here is actually about 0.6. This one's actually a little stronger. X4 actually has a little bit stronger. So these are the ones that are strongest. Now, which one of these has the weakest correlation, Matt? Which one of these? Just find the weakest between profit and which of the X's has the weakest. So use this correlation matrix showing the plots, but also showing the values of correlation. Which of these has the weakest correlation now? So this plot actually tells you the correlation between them. So frankly, any answer like X2, X3, X4, which you see here, X2, X3. X3 is the most linear. X4, these are tighter, but they also have some more non-linearity to them. Which one here is the weakest between profit and which one of these X's is the weakest? Weakest is going to be closest to 0. So the closest to 0 is which one? And then we can take a look at it. Which one of these is the weakest? There's a lot of weak ones. X10 is almost the weakest. That is a very weak one. And that would be down here, but just barely, 100 points there, Matt. Just barely weaker than that is this one because remember, it's the absolute value of the correlation. So X6 is actually the weakest because it's closer to 0, just barely. And X6 is going to be this plot right here. So let's just visualize that. Let's go here to X6 and we should see a kind of non-existent. This is a very weak, non-existent relationship. There's no real line going through this, really up or down. So X6, does that make sense how I'm able to find these things? The graphics are huge and just destroying the map. But does that make sense, Matt, how I'm able to, especially with this, analyze what the correlation is? You could also use your other plots. These are huge plots and stuff to see what's going on and view them visually and see what's going on. Once again, this scatter plot matrix is just making all of these scatter plots at one time so we can view profit with each one of these. X6 right here would be this one, which is a very weak. Also, X10 is very weak also. It's basically as weak as X6. They're both super weak. So is X1 in profit. X1 in profit, if you remember and go look at it, X1 in profit is going to have a correlation of 0.08, which is very weak. Oh, it's mad about me. Don't hit the thing too many times. So X1 in profit is going to have a very weak correlation too. So we could look at that. And it looks something like this. That's probably one of the best answers. I would think visually this has the weakest correlation. Its correlation is, can we do core like this? Oh, core test. No, it's not the format for it. It's got to do the data equals. We'll just get the same thing, which we've already gotten. How are we doing, Matt? No one's asked any other questions, so I'm just continuing down this route of doing the activity right now. There's the value of correlation we get, which is the same value of correlation you saw in the scatter plot previously. How are you doing, Matt? Is this making sense, what we're looking at right here? Name one of the predictors that looks like it might have a nonlinear relationship. So one of the predictors that has a nonlinear relationship is definitely going to be what? X what looks to have a nonlinear relationship with profit. So we'll load it in right here. X what looks to have a nonlinear relationship with profit. I'd say X3 has a good, strong linear relationship to some extent. X1 has a non-existent or weak. We had other ones too, but this one looks just from the plot to be non-existent, weak with profit. I don't see a line going up or down. It just looks kind of like random. So which one of these looks to be non-linear with profit? Which one of these looks as a non-linear relationship with profit? So we're just analyzing this top row right here because this is profit on the y-axis. If you go across here, profit's on the y. And if you go up, these would be on the x then. Like whatever. So x6, a little bit. They look very weak. But do you see x2? Do you see the bend through x2 right here? Do you see this right here, Matt? 100 points, don't worry. Or x4. Do you see x4, how x4 looks? Do you see how x4 kind of bends through? And I'll show you some stuff right here. Let me go grab this. Here's what X4 looks like. Woo, that's nonlinear. Let's go to M, save into LM. And I'm going to show you something, a cool command we can use, choose order. Choose order is going to let us look at the polynomial, and you can see there's a bend through here. What did we say, X4? And we could check the nonlinearity of some of these. I think X2 was another one. So here's what X2 looks like. And do you see how X2 has like, yeah, hey, Ditto, I'm feeling a good bit better today. Like 80% today. Yesterday was like 50, 60%. Especially after the opioids started. I think it's an opioid hydrocodone. Started to give me headaches and dizziness. Woo. I was in bed from like 3 to 9 last night. Till we watched some Fear Factor and it cured me. Fear Factor is always the cure for everything. But I started to feel better and I was just like, please let me stop feeling dizzy. Please let me stop feeling dizzy. Please let the world stop spinning. But no, today I'm doing a good bit better, which is really awesome. I like being doing better. But you can see the non-linearity right here of this plot. So if we did something like X9, we could look at it. The choose order fits higher order polynomials. If you notice, there's not as much as a bend right here through the data, where with the previous model, there was a good bit of bending. So the choose order can really key you in on some non-linearity right here. We'll be covering the choose order later on, but this is X9 if we look at nonlinear relationships, and this is X2 if we examine nonlinearity. So hey, Brian, doing better? Would you be able to go to question 1? Yeah, we can do that. Let's hop over to that here. We'll see any other last questions on this one. Good stuff. So I'll need to send an announcement about that, Logan. We don't want to do all the countries at once. I want to do the individual countries. And so we'll do some, because we'll use the country as the key. But this is a good start on the activity. Probably need to do the activity night, like tonight or tomorrow or something. Woo, it's a big activity. It's a lot of activity right here. Woo, look at all that. What's going on here? Oh, because we're the median for each value. Okay. So the median and the mean. Yeah, using the predict. Woo, it's a big thing right there. Yeah, Matt, great job. Keep asking those questions. Thank you, Matt, for asking about the activity. We're going to hop over to some 475. You'll get to see some more cool code right here. We used the GG Ally a second ago, Logan, so let's check out the assignment. We got time here for a few more things. So many cool things. All right. Looking at everything. All right. I slept like 10 hours last night. It's more than I've slept the last 3 nights put together. So that was a good thing. It was a very good thing. A lot of sleep. Let's get the decomp assignment. I need to send out an update about this. Okay. Let me send out an update. Okay. Sent out an announcement right there. Let's go take a look at this. Yeah, let's go take a look at the 475. Here we go. 475 homework. Let's take a look. Okay. So we got a bunch of packages here. What happens if you run this and it doesn't run? What do you need to do? Important thing we need to know. You run this and it doesn't run. It says nope. Which I'd hope at this point it doesn't do that. Anytime you see library, if something doesn't run when you have library, what do you need to do? Now, you don't want to leave these in. But what do you need to do if you run something and it just doesn't run, like library? You say, load up the FPP3 library, and it says, nope, can't do that. Or you load the seasonal library, and it says, nope, can't do that. Now, mine does it, because why? Install them, exactly. A lot of people get stuck on that. It's all right, but we need to know if we run a library and it doesn't work, we need to install that library. So consider the GDP in the global economy. Plot the GDP per capita for each country over time. Well, there's a lot of countries. Haha. Which country has the highest GDP? So we want to plot... for the highest country. That's really fine right there. How's this changed over time? Now, plot the GPA per capita for the highest country. So if we plot it, either one per capita, so we need to do per population. So GDP per capita, let's go get the global economy. Global economy is loaded in right now. It's a data frame we have. So, what is the year? Oh, maybe. What is year in this data frame? It doesn't say it right there. What is year in this data frame? Very important thing to know. What is year as a thing in this data frame? We have measures, we have keys, and we have what. So year is the what for this data frame. Very important to know that. Like GDP is a measure. Growth and CPI might be measures, but they're not there. Index, great job, Logan, right there. And I think we can just look and go to index. Let's see index. Can we do keys? No. Won't show us. It does tell you the key if you look right here, though. Keys, it can key on country. This basically means it splits it apart. So what we want to do now is we want to just go and take some countries. So for those who don't know about dplyr, dplyr has a piping option. And I want to go here and I want to go to filter country equals. We'll go grab another one in a second. But now I've filtered out only the United States. Does that make sense right here? So I've gone to filter and country and just the United States. So this only gives me the United States. I could go and I could grab another country like Afghanistan and just go in here and filter only Afghanistan, and we have Afghanistan only. So does this make sense, like to everyone right here? Does that make sense? What we can do, maybe before we even do this, is use the mutate function. Mutate function is going to, we can add columns to our data set, and we want to add on here GDP per capita. And inside of that, we're going to go GDP and divide it by population. So what will this do? This will append onto here a new thing right here. Yeah, we can't do all. I mean, you can, but it's going to look ridiculous. That's a mistake on my part, Logan. So and so does the mutate function make sense? The mutate function is going to take and create a new column. So all you're doing is passing this into the next argument. You're saying, take global economy and then mutate it such that we add a new column right here, GDP per capita, which is this formula. So it's going to add on a new column. And what I might do is I might do this. What's that going to do now? Awesome. That's what I'm seeing. So what am I doing at the end of this? Which it's all right to do. What is this going to do at the end of this? I like to do things in steps. I'm like thinking, what is the optimum way to do it? So what's this going to do at the end of this? It's going to what it? Which you don't have to do this, but what are they going to do? Yeah, updates, overwrites. Yep. Great job right there, Joseph. Or Logan, sorry. Logan, you are right. That's going to update, overwrite it. And so now if you look at it, it is just that. So you could continue on down the line, but that's just going to overwrite it. So we're just taking, depending on this column, with the mutate function to write a new column using formula from previous columns. And now we are storing into global economy. You could like store into global economy 2 and create the object global economy 2. So if you look right here in the environment, you now have global economy 2. Or you could just overwrite your current global economy. That's what we try to do. So now we want to go here and we want to then go to filter country equals. But anyway, let's go here and just go to max. Let's go here to which max. Which max global economy. What did I just find? What did I just find? What does which max do? What did I just find? So what did we just find right here? What did which max do? So, well, not that this is the maximum value. It's a which max. So you're on the right track, Logan. It's not the maximum GDP per capita. That's not the maximum value of GDP per capita. The maximum value of GDP per capita is this. NA. Oh, ha ha ha. NA dot remove equals true. Is that. Find the location of the maximum value. Exactly. So this is the location of the maximum value. So if I go here to global economy, and then I go here and go to this row, we can observe the row, and that's the country. You could even go more specific and get the country by doing this, and that's the country. So you can go here to which min and do which min and all that stuff, but this is the location. You could also take this whole code right here, because that does return this and run this. Looks more complicated if you do it this way. So just knowing that this returns 9503 is the row with the maximum. And so you could even go here and go to max row right here. And then if you don't want to do numbers, because you should be very careful if you're rewriting numbers, you could do that. Does that make sense how I've coded this in now, that I've stored max row number as the max row number, and then I'm just plugging it in right here by doing this. You generally want to be careful if you're just writing numbers. You want to store an object usually instead of writing it, so that way you don't make an error by like writing a number and you get the number wrong, because you just found that number. So why write the number when you can just store it and then use the object you've stored with the number inside of it? So in the L right here just means it's integer format. So we know it's Monaco, I mean. So if we only want to get Monaco, we would go here and we go to global economy, and then we would what global economy. So I've been doing this a little bit earlier. We're going to what the global economy now. So what will we do to global economy now? We're going to what the global economy. We only want Monaco. Filter. Great job right there. You got it. 100 points. Filter, country. Now we have to put it in quotes because it's a string. Always run your code in those. Little bit. To make sure you're getting it. So we notice here we just have, ooh, looks like we're missing data. I'm going to call this, let's see what we get. I think it runs. It looks like there's no information on the GDP for these years, so it just doesn't have information on that. So let's throw it into an autoplot rollout. And there it is. There's just not information on those starting years. So it does work. It's just there's no information until 1970. So funny enough, it just doesn't show the information until we get to 1970. If we were to look at this, which we could, we could take a look at it and we could see that we start to get information at the 1970s. And that's why the plot right here begins at this. So you can see right here, they are actually going crazy with their GDP per capita. Monaco, I don't know what's going on in Monaco. Pretty crazy GDP per capita. Population not really growing that immensely, so it seems. And the GDP, they didn't have a GDP for the last year. I wonder why. But this goes to 2017. Is this making sense right here? And we could do this for any country we wanted. That's one of the great things about dplyr, is we could quickly change this to like United States, and we could get the plot right here. Or we could do the following. Let's make it a little bit more pretty. That's good right there. And we could do %i and %, and go right here and do something like Iran here. Oh, there's no Iran. There we go. Oh, Rack's missing a bunch of data. What? Missing data. So this is one of the great things about all this right here, is how easy it is to use. And we should be able to do it. Didn't break. Then you could save this picture. But once again, this is what we really like about making these plots. Pretty easy to use. We really like what's going on right here. But how is it making sense? Thank you for making it awesome. Yeah, that's where I messed up. Sorry, that was pointed out on yesterday or something like that. I'd also add a title right here. I basically want to see if you can plot these objects and make sure you can do some good stuff right here. I think the plot title goes right here. Oh, there it is. So try to think of things like this right here. What you could do is you could screenshot this. Probably what I would do if I'm going to put this in my report. I'm a big fan of screenshotting this type of stuff. So if you want to make some really good graphics, screenshot this. If you want to get a little extra, never hurts. And then you can have a really nice picture for your report, kind of minimum effort, and then put this in the report afterwards. People were mentioning, I think there's ways to knit this stuff, which I should. Someone mentioned that, I think, which I haven't found. But people are really great at figuring out things that I maybe got stuck on. So if you look, this is a really, if you think about, is this a good looking graphic? I'd say that's a pretty, what do you think, Logan? If this was in a report, would you think that someone had a somewhat professional picture of the GDP? You look at Japan right there. Man, Japan really skyrockets in the 80s and then levels off. Pretty interesting right there. China takes off in the, man, I didn't know that China has taken off in the mid 2000s, speeding up past the United States. But Japan was on pace with the US, and US has continued on right there. But pretty interesting to see this graphic and the story it tells that China has just exploded since the year 2000. That's pretty crazy. But stories to be told by the graphics right here, comparing these three countries. And Japan, pretty interesting how they've stayed at kind of a level where the US has continued its growth of GDP. I didn't think we had that high of a GDP per capita, but apparently we do. What other questions are there? This is how to do it here. You can, I'll tell the grader to be nice on this when I put the grading key out there to them. The whole point is, the point of this question, just think of everything like, why are we doing this? The whole point of this question is, doing this kind of code right here. You look at how much code we did to answer this question. We were able to find things like the country with the highest GDP per capita. We were able to find things like plotting countries, and now we can easily switch plotting countries. So the goal is that you could do this for any group of countries. Does that make sense? So if you understand how to do this for one country, you can just take and do any country you want. And so knowing how to visualize, knowing how to graph things, we're just trying to teach you the skill sets of how to use things like the filter, how to use things like the mutate, and how to just like create these things. So the goal is that you could do it for any amount of countries. So if you can complete that goal, if you can do it for one country, you can do it for two. Probably the hardest thing a lot of people might not know is the percent I in percent, which means the country is contained in this vector. You don't want to do equals equals. That's going to cause some very weird output. It's probably going to miss a lot of points. It's going to be a disconnected. Did it actually work? No, it's connecting through the points. It looks like it works. It's deceptive. I'm pretty sure it's not working. It's deceptively looking like it's working. It is not working to the best of my knowledge right here. And one could be deceived into thinking it's working. Yeah, it's not taking all the data points. It's just connecting through the ones that do exist, I think. That's deceptive. You would think it works. Equals equals does a... Is this one... the way it works is it won't take the full vector. This goes back to where we learned how about to do equals equals and percent I and percent. Like 1 equals equals, the vector 1 through 5 will return back true, false, 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 because it's going to say is 1 equal to 1, is 1 equal to 2, is 1 equal to 3, all that. But is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5 will return back what? So Logan, quick question right here with 100 points. Is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5 will return back what? So the way I'm asking this, just think about what I'm asking. Is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5? Is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5? That's all that asks right there, is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5. So what will that return? And then we got time for one more question if you want. I might head off because... So is 1 contained in the vector 1 through 5? Yep. It'll return back just true. So we want to know when we're doing this right here, is the country contained in the vector United States. We don't want to see equals equals because that'll do like, it'll do a pairwise checking of it. So like the code we just saw here, we don't want to do is the country contained equals to this. It's going to go pairwise checking. We want to ask, is the country contained over here? So it's going to look and say, when it looks at country, is it one of these countries? So is the country contained in this vector? Not is it logic equal to this or this or this? And it'll do it pairwise. We don't want to do equals. A little bit confusing. I think that's the hardest one to wrap your head around is the %IM%. It just means, is this contained over here? So when we ask, is the country contained in this list of like USA, we can concatenate vector now, and China, well then, if the country is contained in that list, we will return it. So that will return back only countries that are contained in this list. The equals would do a pairwise check with each row, and it'll return back only pairwise elements that meet it. It's a little more confusing, especially if you look at what the code will do. It's the reason why we're missing certain data points, and the code looks more smooth with the equals because there's less data points, and there's more blips and boops right here, ups and downs, because the code has all the data points here. So yeah, we're missing data points. That's theoretically what's happening, is it does not get all the data points because it does not get all the data with the equals because it doesn't find them all. Well, that's got it. We've only got a little bit of time here, but class starts next class in 25 minutes. So we did some 201, we did some 320, we did some 475. Love it. We'll head off here. That's too sad. Put on our happy music. Logan, great work. We'll have class tomorrow. I'm feeling better today. Sure, I'll be probably betterish tomorrow too. Got to stay on that track to recovery. Kind of try to take it easy. But we'll be getting there. Thank you, everybody, for all the well wishes. Moving along slowly, recovering as time goes on. We'll be back here on Stat 201. See you later, everybody. Bye for now.